Hello everyone, my name is Jose Clua, and in this video I'm going to present how to integrate MuleSoft Intelligent Document Processing and MuleSoft RPA. MuleSoft IDP is an AI-powered tool that allows us to automate any document-related workflow by using predefined AI models, making it easy to extract data from documents such as invoices or purchase orders. This will be our demo use case. Inside an IDP demo folder, we have another folder called invoices and an Excel spreadsheet file. Inside the invoices folder, we have 4 invoices from different companies, which have completely different layouts. We will then use MuleSoft RPA to iterate over all files inside the invoices folder, and we will send each file to MuleSoft IDP. MuleSoft IDP will use its pre-trained AI models to extract the data from the PDF files and send it back to MuleSoft RPA as structured data. And MuleSoft RPA will use this structured data to populate the Excel file. This is MuleSoft IDP's homepage. Here, we can create a new document action. IDP comes with predefined AI models for invoices, purchase orders, or we can also choose a generic document type in case we want to create our own model. Let's choose the invoice type, add a name and a description, and create this document action. This is the document action editor. Here we have a configuration panel and the ability to upload sample file. Let's go ahead and select a sample invoice. Here we can see the document in the editor being displayed, and in the configuration panel we have a schema of standard fields for invoices. We can choose to extract each field or omit them by clicking in the eye icon. For this demo we will choose only 4 fields for simplicity, so let's go ahead and hide signatures and text. We want to extract the total amount. If we click in the total row, we can see that we have a threshold configuration. This allows us to establish a minimum confidence level that we want to ensure. The default value is 80%. We will also hide the emails, and we want to extract due date. And we also like to extract the invoice number. So now we have only 4 fields that we selected. In the Tables tab, we can see the tabular data. These are line items in a grid. Here we have this table with only 1 item. For this demo, we will not be extracting any tabular data, so we will just hide this one. And finally, in the Prompts tab, we have an integration with Salesforce Einstein. Here, we can create custom AI prompts to retrieve data from the invoice using natural language processing. We just need to create a name for this custom field, for example, P_due date. And in the question field, we can use natural language processing to create an AI prompt and ask IDP to retrieve this data. We have 4 fields and 1 prompt field. Now, to publish this document action, there's only one thing missing. We need to add a reviewer for this document action. So let's go ahead and add a reviewer. In case an extraction finds any value without the minimum confidence level, this document will be marked as reviewed needed, and the reviewer will have this document in the review tasks. He can go ahead and perform a review and then resubmit this document. Now we just need to publish this document action. And it will become available in Anypoint Exchange. In this API, we have these endpoints. We have the post document action execution, which we can use to post a document to our document action. Once we post this document, we would immediately get an execution ID as a response. And with the execution ID, we can use this resource, get document action execution. This is RPA Builder, and we are going to see now how to integrate an RPA automated process to MuleSoft IDP. Now, here we have in the MuleSoft IDP tab two new functions. We have the retrieve results from MuleSoft IDP. This is the get method in the API we just saw in Exchange. And the submit document to MuleSoft IDP. This is the post method we just saw. Here we have a simple process with only two tasks. The first one will submit all documents inside the invoices folder to MuleSoft IDP. And the second task will retrieve the results for each one of them, and it will save the results in our Excel spreadsheet. Now let's take a look at the activity parameters. So the first activity parameter is a connected app credential variable. So here we have a client ID and a client secret. With this credential, we are able to connect an RPA bot to MuleSoft IDP. To generate these credentials, you'll need to go to your Anypoint platform, Access Management, Connected Apps, and create a new connected app with the IDP scope. This is just a path to our IDP demo folder. And then we have the execution ID, which will save the execution ID for each of the documents when they are being processed. We have the number of files, row number, the file name, the sheet name in the Excel spreadsheet. And here we have all the fields that we want to extract from our document: the due date, the customer name, the total, the invoice number, and the ABN. Okay, this is the submit documents task. So first we have go to desktop. This is just optional keystroke function to press Windows and D just to go to the desktop. And then here we will set a combined string with the directory path and /invoices. So the output of this combined string will be the path to the invoices folder. And this is the iterate over files function. So this will basically iterate over all files that are inside this combined strings output. Now, for each one of those files, I will submit the document to MuleSoft IDP. So here we can choose all of the document actions that we have in our MuleSoft IDP. So let's use the one we just created, IDP Automation V1. notice that I have the activity parameters IDP, which is our connected app credentials. So after we submit this document to the MuleSoft IDP, we will save the execution ID. We will save the number of files. This is just the iteration number. So once it goes through the last file in the folder, it will save the number of files. In our case, we have 4 files. So in the last iteration in the loop, it will save the number 4 here. And we will save this as row number. The message box will just show the number of the iteration that we are currently running. When we run this automation locally, we will be able to see this for 3 seconds and then it will go away. And here we have an Excel session. Here for the item number, we will save just the iteration number. For the file name, we will save the iterate file name. And the execution ID, this is coming from the submit document to MuleSoft IDP. And here we have the execution ID that is returned by this function. And here the results, it's also coming from this, but it's the success value. Now let's take a look at the second task in this automated process, the retrieve results task. In this task, we want to iterate over all the rows in the Excel spreadsheet that we've written in the previous step. And inside this Excel session, we created a loop which will start in 1 and go until number of files. For each iteration number, we want to add 1 to get the row number, because the spreadsheet has a header, so the row number will start in number 2. With the row number, then we can actually read the execution ID that was saved in the previous step. This will be in the column C and row number. With the execution ID, then we can ask MuleSoft IDP for the results for this execution. The results, they can have different status, and one of these status is in progress. So if it's in progress, it means that MuleSoft IDP is not done extracting this data. So we created a retry mechanism that basically, if we get the in progress status, we will wait for 20 seconds and then retry. And we will retry maximum of 3 times. So we created a loop from 1 until 3. For each retry, we added a manage block. So a manage block gives us 3 scopes: the do action scope, the on error, and the do always. This is similar to a try catch finally block if you're familiar with programming. So that means that everything that's inside this green box, the do action block, if it has an error, then it will immediately go to this block on error. Let's see what we have here. So basically, we have the retrieve results from MuleSoft IDP. So let's open this one up. So here we just configure the action that we are using, the document action. In our case, we have IDP automation v1. And here we just add the connected app credentials. So as I've said, the status of this function can be in progress. So we created a select case. A select case will allow us to create certain conditions, and just like an if and else or a switch case in programming, if the results are status in progress, then it will go here. So here we just say a message box saying It's in progress and we will wait for 15 seconds. So here we have a sleep function that will just pause the execution of the automation for 15 seconds. And then we will force an error state. The error state will force the program to go to the onError block. In the onError block, we will just say forcing OK state and retrying. So by forcing OK state, we are just telling the bot to ignore this error and keep going. It will continue inside this loop and it will go to the second retry. So in the second try, it will do the same thing again. And chances are that in the second retry, because we waited for 15 seconds, MuleSoft IDP will be ready with the results and we will have the succeeded state. In the do else block, we have all of these managed blocks here, which will have error handlers for each one of them individually. So we will start with the invoice number. So inside this managed block, we have the do action and the onError and the do always blocks. So let's take a look at each one of these. So in the query invoice number, we have a JSON path query. So if I open this, we have this JSON path expression here. If you want to create this expression, there is a very useful tool here. Once I get this result, I will set this variable called invoice number, and I will set it to the first item in the query. If the value for this JSON query is null, in this case, this function will throw an error saying this JSON path is not valid, it couldn't find anything. So in this case, we will just set the invoice number variable to 0. So if we have 0, we know that we didn't find any invoice number. So we just want to save that. And in the do always block, we will just write these results in the spreadsheet. So in column F and in the row number, we will save the invoice number. And so we do that for all of the fields that we want. In the end, we just reset the variables because we are going to do this for all invoices. Once it reaches this stage where we have all the fields assigned and written in the spreadsheet, it means that we don't need to keep retrying. So we break outside of the retry loop. So we have everything in place now, so let's try this automation. So we have the invoices file here, which is currently empty. And inside this invoices folder, we have 4 invoices. So let's go to our RPA builder and let's run this automation in our development environment, just by clicking in this button, Run Process. So the automation has started. The first thing it will do, it will go to the desktop so we can see this blue screen. Now we see the number of files pop up showing number 1. It means that it's extracting the data from the first invoice. And now it is doing it for the second file. And now for the third file, it's submitting this file to MuleSoft IDP. And now for the fourth file. So the submit documents task completed in 42 seconds, and now the second task is starting. So we see the first try for the first file. We are trying to retrieve the result, and we got the succeeded status. And now the first try for the fourth file. And we got the manual validation required. So the automation has completed. So now we can go to the Excel file and see the data that was written in this spreadsheet. Let's take a look. So we got the item number here, the file name, the execution ID, the result of the submit method, the status we got in the retrieve results. So we got 2 succeeded and 2 manual validation required. And here we have the data from the invoice number, the due date, the customer name, the total, and the ABN. So everything looks good, except we have this manual validation required. The business user can go to MuleSoft IDP and check the review tasks. Here, he will see a list of all the documents pending review. In our demo, we had 2 files that got manual validation required status, which are these 2 files right here. So MuleSoft IDP will show the user why this was marked as validation required. It was because this particular field, the ABN, which was a prompt field, got only 51% confidence that it is correct. So the user can just double check if this is correct. If it's not correct, he can actually update the value here. So let's change this from 179 to 100 just to test this. And then I will just click submit and done. So this file is checked and we can go to the next file. So in this one, MuleSoft IDP was not confident enough for the customer name. It got only 75.46% confidence, and our threshold was 80%. So that's why it was marked as review required. So let's imagine this was wrong. So the business user can actually update this very easily from here and then click in submit and done. So now both files are checked. Once they are checked, they go out of the list. So now I have no review tasks pending. And now we just need to implement some kind of reprocess flow. In RPA Builder, I have created another automation called Reprocess. Here, we basically iterate over our Excel spreadsheet, but we look only for the records that have the status as manual validation required. And because the business user already reviewed this document action in MuleSoft IDP, and because we already have the execution ID that's linked to that document action, then once we retrieve the results for these execution IDs, we should get the updated results. So we should have the updated status and the updated fields. So let's take a look at this automation. So basically here we have an Excel session with a loop, which will look into all the rows in our spreadsheet, and we will be looking for the execution ID and for the status. this is the status that we can find in column E, which is this column right here. So basically, for this status succeeded, we just want to ignore this record. And for the manual validation required, we want to reprocess this document action. So we saved the status here in this variable, and we have here a select case for this variable. And for the case of manual validation required, then we have a very similar process to the previous automation that we presented. The only difference is that here we don't need the retry mechanism because this is already existing document action in MuleSoft IDP. So it's very unlikely that this will be in progress at this point. We should get succeeded, or if we get another status, this will be shown in this message box, and also it will save in our spreadsheet in column E again. So if we get anything else different than succeeded, then we should see this in our Excel spreadsheet. And then we will try to save all of the fields again. And then we just reset the variables so we don't carry this to the next row. Before we run this automation, let's just quickly review the message boxes that I have added so we can understand what's happening during the execution. So the first message box will just show the number of the iteration in the loop, so which file is being processed. When we get the manual validation required, we will run the retrieve results from MuleSoft IDP, and then we will show in the message box the status or the new status that we got from MuleSoft IDP. And in case it's a different status, we will just ignore this record. So I will just show do nothing status, ignore record. Okay, so now let's just run the automation and see what happens. This is the file number 1, and for this one we will get ignore record. File number 2. For this one, we got the new status is succeeded. File number 3, we will also ignore. And file number 4, we should get the new status from MuleSoft IDP. And this is succeeded as well. So now, for all records, we have a succeeded status. And if we check the values of the fields, they were updated according to the review the business did in MuleSoft IDP. With MuleSoft IDP, organizations can easily implement intelligent document processing, creating document actions, and integrating this with Anypoint platform and MuleSoft RPA, and also implementing a review workflow to have reliability and consistency in this process. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions regarding MuleSoft IDP, MuleSoft RPA, hyperautomation, or anything else related to MuleSoft, don't hesitate to contact us at MakeSense Software Services.